A newly discovered alien planet's ring system put Saturn's collection to shame. The exoplanet called J1407b could even harbor at least one Earth or Mars-sized moon, judging by large gap in the rings scientists have found. This discovery marks the first time researchers have found this kind of ring system outside of the solar system. Today we will discuss with you about the planet which has the most number of rings. Welcome back to Signature's Life and you're watching Signature's Science. This planet is much larger than Jupiter or Saturn, and its ring system is roughly 200 times larger than Saturn's rings are today and is of enormous proportions, much larger and heavier than the ring system of Saturn. The planet orbits star J1407, located approximately 434 light-years from Earth. Astronomers first identified the ring system, the first of its kind to be found outside our solar system, in 2012. First ever ringed planet beyond our solar system, you could think of it as a kind of super Saturn called J1407b. Its ring system is 200 times larger than Saturn's rings. Astronomers say that the ring system consists of more than 30 rings, each of them tens of millions of kilometers in diameter. Furthermore, the analysis found gaps in the rings which indicate that satellites, otherwise exomoons, may have formed. This planet is much larger than Jupiter or Saturn, and its ring system is roughly 200 times larger than Saturn's rings are today. You could think of it as a kind of super Saturn. The disk of rings is so vast that, were it around Saturn, it would dominate our night sky, the astronomers said. If we could replace Saturn's rings with the rings around J1407b, they would be easily visible at night and be many times larger than the full moon. If you were to grind up the 4 large Galilean moons of Jupiter into dust and ice and spread out the material over their orbits in a ring around Jupiter, the ring would be so opaque to light that a distant observer that saw the ring pass in front of the sun would see a very deep multi-day eclipse. In the case of J1407, we see the rings blocking as much as 95% of the light of this young sun-like star for days. So there is a lot of material there that could then form satellites. Astronomers expect that the rings will become thinner in the next several million years and eventually disappear as satellites form from the material in the disks. Exoplanets reveal themselves in their host star's light. If a planet passes directly in front of its host star as observed from Earth, then the planet will block part of the star's light and it will appear as though the star has momentarily dimmed. But in 2007, a young star 1S WASP J140747, that is located 433 light-years from Earth toward the constellation Centaurus, showed a complex series of dimmings that lasted 56 days. At the time, astronomers thought that the dimming was caused by a ring system with at least 4 large rings. They estimate that the system is much more extensive with a total of 37 rings. The star is much too far away for us to observe the rings directly, but we could make a detailed model based on the rapid brightness variations in the starlight passing through the ring system. Typically, when an exoplanet crosses in front of its host star, the effect is tiny. A Jupiter-like planet, for example, might block 1% of a Sun-like star's light, producing an effect comparable to mosquito flying in front of a flashlight a few thousand kilometers away from the observer. But in this case, the rings block as much as 95% of the star's light. Evidently, the rings are massive. The data even show a clear gap that is 0.4 astronomical units, otherwise 37 million miles, away from the super Saturn. One obvious explanation is that a satellite formed and carved out this gap. The mass of the satellite could be between that of Earth and Mars. Earth-sized exomoons might prove to be promising abodes for habitable life. Although astronomers have started digging through the wealth of data collected by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope in search of their presence, none have shown up yet. But the case of J1407b has potentially and may shed light on both exomoons and exorings. Still, the relationship between moons and rings remains a mystery. Despite the fact that half of the planets in the Earth's solar system have rings, astronomers have yet to fully understand how these bands are created and maintained. Last year, astronomers even spotted a distant asteroid with rings for the first time. Rings might be ancient, having formed with the planet itself, or they might be relatively new, created from the debris of objects that fell towards the planet, or maybe they form and then quickly disintegrate in the moons. Astronomers expect that the rings will become thinner in the next several million years and eventually disappear as moons form from the materials in the disks. Astronomers said that the planetary science community has theorized for decades that planets like Jupiter and Saturn would have had, at an early stage, disks around them that then led to the formation of satellites. However, until they discovered this object in 2012, no one had seen such a ring system. This is the first snapshot of satellite formation on million-kilometer scales around a substellar object. So maybe Saturn need not worry. In millions of years, J1407b's rings will be a thing of the past, and it will regain its crown.